Ladies and gentlemen, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. As of the title of this video, it is once again college football talking season. We are going to talk about the ACC in today's video. We're going to predict who I think is going to win the conference earlier in the year. We're also going to talk about what teams can make some noise and stuff like that as well, like we did for the Big Ten the other day. So, if you are into college football, hit that sub button, leave a comment down below, as that is what we are doing all throughout this week. We have Road to Glory tomorrow. We will also be playing our Dynasty game on Thursday, so stay tuned for that one. And then Friday, we'll revert back to college football and talk about the Big 12 before our big interview week. So hit that sub button, leave a comment down below. That will automatically get you keeping up with all of the latest videos. Also, today on Netflix, SEC Any Given Saturday. At the time of recording this, I have watched the first episode. It was a banger. I really enjoyed it from Netflix, and I can't wait to watch more of it. We will probably talk about that a little bit here in the next couple of weeks once we are done with interview week. We are also going to be playing our Dynasty and Road to Glory during that week as well. So maybe 2 videos a day if we have time for it. So hit that sub button, leave a comment down below. Lots of college football content coming. Lots of stuff to talk about as we are getting in that season once again. So hit that sub button, leave a comment down below. And without further ado, let us go ahead and preview the ACC in 2025. All right, let's start off like how we did it when we did the Big Ten preview. We're going to talk about teams first who I think can make a little bit of noise in the conference. Then we'll go ahead and talk about the powerhouses, and then we'll predict the ACC championship game all the way in January. So let us go ahead and do that right now with the teams that I think can make some noise in this conference. I think, number one, Syracuse is going to be a really talented squad. They knocked off Miami last year at home on the final week of the regular season. They played some really, really good teams close last year as well, and I believe they returned a bunch of production this year. So Syracuse, I'm looking at, and I'm going to be like, hey, they're going to be a sneaky team in there. They're not going to be one of those games where you can just sneak by it as well and be really, really obviously win that game. But they're going to be a team that's going to be sneaky good in terms of kind of upsetting a team every other weekend. And I definitely could see that happening as well. Georgia Tech, you return Haynes King for another year. One of your veteran quarterbacks on the offensive side of the ball. I feel like they're going to make a lot of noise this year, especially coming after the Birmingham Bowl loss to Vanderbilt. Haynes King's back. He's going to be really, really in touch with his receivers. Yes, you do lose Eric Singleton, the transfer wide receiver to Auburn. But other than that, you still have your pretty much same receiving core from last year. So Georgia Tech, I also think, can definitely make some noise in this conference. UNC, Gio Lopez is going to be one of the most underrated quarterbacks in this league, man. Do not sleep on Gio Lopez. Your boy out of South Alabama, the transfer quarterback, came to play for Coach Belichick. Again, I mentioned Coach Belichick because he's one of the greatest college football coaches when it comes, or NFL coaches, excuse me, when it comes to winning. And I think that's going to translate to college football. Now, I do know the whole offseason drama thing with his girlfriend and all of that stuff. But when it comes to actual football, I think he is going to obviously make a ton of noise here in this conference as well. And then you have a couple of other teams in there like Virginia Tech. Louisville is going to be a different team as well. Boston College. Those 3 teams, I think, are going to be some teams that can also make noise in this conference. Will they win the conference and make the playoffs? Probably not, but they still have really good room to work with. Boston College and Virginia Tech especially. Boston College did lose Castellanos, yes, but they are going to be really, really good once again. And I think they will win a lot of their home games in this conference when it comes down to it. And, of course, like I said, Wake Forest, a little bit iffy right there. But, again, Virginia Tech's going to be really, really talented as well. They have a lot of really good offensive players. That Vanderbilt game, week 1, is going to be a real test for them to get walking into Vanderbilt and to see, or excuse me, I think it's at home for them, but it's still going to be a really, really good test to them to see how they can contain Diego Pavia and that offense. So, again, a few teams in this league that I think can definitely make some noise. Now, let us go ahead and talk about the powerhouses in the ACC. All right, let us talk about the powerhouses here in the ACC. Number 1 being Clemson, obviously. Clemson and Dabo Swinney and company. You got Cade Klubnik back for another year. You got some really good transfers in there. Dabo Swinney finally learning how to use the transfer portal in Clemson. That's going to be really, really interesting to watch, especially week in and week out, right? In this ACC where you do have some really good deep teams like SMU is really solid. Miami, again, is going to be a contender with Carson Beck at the helm this year at the quarterback position. Duke, I think, is actually going to be a really talented team this year as well. And then you got Florida State. Florida State, 2 wins last year, but Castellanos been talking all of this smack as of recently against Bama and all of that stuff. Very interested to see what happens in week 1. Do they get smacked or do they come out and compete against this Crimson Tide team? That's going to be a real test for them in week 1. But like I said, Clemson, Duke, Miami. Miami's got some talented receivers and they have a really talented tight end as well. The defense for Miami, though, is going to be where I'm a little bit skeptical of. They don't have a lot of the veterans that they had last year in defensive production returning. So, again, Miami, going to be a team to watch this year, especially with Carson Beck at the helm. You got some really talented receivers, especially after Xavier Restrepo and Elijah Overo did leave that squad. But I'm still expecting their wide receivers and, of course, a little bit of their defensive players to make some names for themselves as well. So Miami's going to be a top-tier quarterback or a team, as well in the ACC this year. And, yeah, cannot be more excited to see how this conference plays out. Now, let us talk about the returning foes, SMU, who are paying to play in this ACC conference. They make the college football playoff last year. Now, their coach is talking all of this smack about how the SEC plays a lighter schedule. But, and I really wanted to emphasize this these last couple of weeks when I hadn't really gotten the chance to, Texas is going into Ohio State. That is a number 1 versus number 2 preseason matchup as of yesterday when the college football playoff or the college football poll, coaches poll, dropped for the preseason. That's a 1 versus 2 matchup. You got LSU going, of course, into Clemson. Clemson's a really tough opponent in this ACC. So, Curt Cignetti, I believe SMU's head coach, I saw Curt Cignetti did hit on it a little bit as well with the Indiana and stuff. But SMU's head coach dogging on the SEC like that, I don't get it. I really don't. There are some tough teams going in there. Auburn is going to play at Baylor. Obviously, that's not a tough, quote-unquote, team to play, but it's still a tough matchup for them in the league-wise as well. So, SEC is definitely going to play some of these tougher opponents, and teams like SMU and Indiana, they are calling the SEC out for no particular reason, which is why I think SMU does have a chip on their shoulder this year. They are trying to make it back to the college football playoff this year, and I think that they will make it back to the college football playoff this year. I think they have 3 losses, though, and I think the ACC championship is going to be Clemson and Miami. I really do. I think Carson Beck's one of those quarterbacks who can definitely lead your team to a championship. We saw it last year at Georgia. Clemson, Cade Klubnik returning. The offensive production has gotten a lot better this year, and I think the ACC is just overall a little bit weaker than some of the other conferences, but I could definitely see teams like UNC, Duke, Georgia Tech, some of those caliber teams making a run here and trying to get into the ACC championship game as well. However, I think when it comes down to it at the end of the year in December, it's going to be Clemson versus Miami. 2 really, really good quarterbacks, 2 experienced quarterbacks in this league, and it's going to be Cade Klubnik versus Carson Beck for the ACC championship game, and I think that the Clemson Tigers once again come out on top as ACC champions for Dabo Swinney in 2025. Anyway, that is going to do it for this video previewing the ACC. Let me know what you thought of the video in the comments down below. Do not forget to like, subscribe, turn that bell on, as we do our best to post on this channel every single day. Once again, NFL preseason kicking off this week for the majority of the teams around the league. I know last week we had the Hall of Fame game, but football is in full swing. So we are in talking season for college. We are in preseason for NFL. We got live games going on all around the country, and I cannot be more excited. Hit that sub button. Leave a comment down below. so you don't miss out on any of the latest videos. Like I said, tomorrow we will play our Road to Glory, and then of course on Thursday we will play our Dynasty with Vanderbilt, and then Friday we'll preview, of course, the Big 12. So hit that sub button, leave a comment down below. Next week is interview week. We will have high school talk all throughout the week, as well as high school football in the state of Alabama is ramping up. So hit that sub button, leave a comment down below. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, I will see you all in the next video.